Autofocus can be very useful, and in fact I'm using autofocus right now to film myself. However, in today's video I want to discuss with you why you should consider using manual focus and more specifically zone focusing when shooting street photography. Hello guys, welcome back to the channel. Like I just mentioned, autofocus can be very helpful and make things a lot easier. Without a reliable autofocus system, it would be significantly harder to film myself, and especially when I'm holding something in front of the camera and I want the focus to shift from me towards whatever I want to show you close up. In that case, it's very simple and I have to set up the camera to do exactly what I want. There's no guessing around. The camera is focusing on the closest face, and if it can't detect one, the focus will go to whatever object is closest to the camera. That is an easy task and there's not that much that can go wrong. However, if the scene is completely different and much more complex, how can the camera determine what to focus on? For instance, if I would film outside with a lot of other people entering the frame and all sorts of things going on in the background, it could happen that the camera would pick up a different face and focus on that just because it's closer to the camera. Yes, I could fine-tune my autofocus and choose a smaller AF field instead of the whole sensor area in order for the camera to only focus on that small area of the frame. That could work, but as soon as I move, the camera might focus on something in the background instead of on me. The bottom line is that if you let the camera find an object to focus on, it might pick something that you don't actually want to be in focus. The camera cannot read your mind and everything can become more or less random. In order to change that, you have to be in control. You have to perfectly set up your camera to get the results that you want. But that can be a little bit tricky. Almost always when I publish a video where I'm shooting street photography and I'm using a digital camera that has autofocus, there will be a question coming up. How do you configure the autofocus? Did you use a single AF field? Did you use AF tracking? And so on and so forth. And also when I'm teaching a workshop, there's always some students that struggle to use autofocus, and that is easily avoidable. Wouldn't it be great if you don't have to think about that anymore and concentrate more on getting a good composition instead of fumbling around with your camera? Before we continue, a quick reminder that you can now pre-order my new X-Pen zine, and you can do so until June 28th. Shipping will start in the first week of July, and if you pre-order, you will save up 50% on shipping. If you're interested, the link to the zine will be in the description box down below. Now, what I would recommend you to try out is something called zone focusing. That basically means that you pre-focus your lens to a certain distance. It will get a lot easier if you're using a lens that has a proper focusing scale. In case you're using a mirrorless camera, you can try to adopt lenses for like an M mount because they usually are very well suited for manual focusing. And if they come with a focusing tab, things get even better. Some cameras like the Ricoh GRs, they have a feature that is called snap focus, and that is pretty much the same thing. You set up the camera to a certain focusing distance, and when you just press one button, the camera then will set the focus to that distance. To make things a lot easier, I would recommend that you set your aperture to f8 or even further in order to get more in focus. You can use zone focusing with a larger aperture, but it gets harder to nail it, and I wouldn't do this when you're just starting out using zone focusing. To practice this, it's very helpful when you learn to guess distances. You can easily do this even when you're not shooting. You'll be surprised how easy that can be once you put a little bit of effort into it, and after a while it becomes second nature. Now, when you are out and about shooting and you come across a scene that you want to photograph, it is very helpful to pre-visualize your framing in order to set the focusing distance on your lens. When you're used to a specific focal length, that shouldn't be an issue, and that's why I would recommend that you stick to one lens. That is maybe a 35 or a 28 or something in between, or even wider, instead of switching between different focal lengths all the time. If you follow these tips, you should be able to master zone focusing without any problems. And trust me, things will get so much easier when shooting street photography. Alright guys, that's it for today's video. Don't forget to pre-order my zine if you're interested. And I hope to see you again tomorrow in the next video. Until then, auf Wiedersehen.